So with a new year, will we get a new coach, a new style, a new team, a new England? And I thought you were going to score.
Ask a better question, you get a better answer.
Hi guys, welcome back. This is a follow-on from my last video where I discussed who might be the next England head coach. I went through 5 options. Do have a look at that as context for this video. I'm going to tell you now my preferred option, most likely option, is Scott Robertson of New Zealand, of the Crusaders. I think he'd be a great option. I would love Andy Farrell or Steve Borthwick as well, but I just don't think they're feasible. And I think right now Scott Robertson could bring the energy England need, a new style, maybe a new team, new selection as well, and a new background staff of coaches. Now, if he's appointed before the World Cup, sure, getting those assistant coaches might be a bit trickier, so he might have to reshuffle after the World Cup. But I think he'd be given a little bit of leeway, being given only a year leading into the World Cup. England could be underdogs, give it a crack with a young team, and then build towards the next one. Now, even though Scott Robertson doesn't have that international experience, the way he's played with the Crusaders would translate quite well to internationals, I think. The Crusaders have a very strong forward pack, but they use their skills amazingly as well to score some great tries. And that could be a similar sort of thing that England could do, open up a fair bit more than Eddie Jones, but still be pragmatic when needs be. And I think Scott Robertson might be what we need at the moment. Get the fans excited, get the players excited, play some more attractive rugby. Maybe it's not always winning rugby, but they're giving it a crack and fans will appreciate that. And then on to the players, which is the most important bit. Being a head coach of an international side, sure you want tactics, analysis, all those sorts of things, but picking the best players, picking the talent is the most thing. Selection is key. I think that's something Eddie Jones has lost sight of a little bit. So let's go through a hypothetical team that I would pick, and I'd love to know the team you guys would pick as well. Okay, let's get into the front row. I think you stick with Ellis Genge at loosehead. I think he's our best loosehead. Sometimes he can struggle in the scrum, but he's so good around the park, and I think he's going to get better. The big problem is, who's his backup? I think we're saying thank you for your service and moving on from players like Mako, Billy, Ben Youngs, May, Noel. They've been great for England, but I think in this new era, they need to go for quicker, younger players. Who's going to be the backup loosehead? Well, they really need to give some props a go, like Rapava Ruskin. They need some big scrummagers as well. It's a big area that a new coach needs to work on. Now at hooker, it's quite tricky. Luke Cowan-Dickie and George are still good players. You can have them in reserve. But I think you need to go slightly differently. The form hooker, I think, is McGuigan of Newcastle. Really good in the set piece. Very reliable. And if you go for Blamire as his backup on the bench, you invest some time in him. He's got so much physical potential. That could be a way going, but it's a tricky one in the front row. There's going to be some big decisions made. Similarly, at tight head, you've got Sinclair, you've got Stewart. They can be quite good at times. Sinclair sometimes can struggle in the scrum, sometimes can be great, but they need to look into tight heads very, very quickly. That front row is going to be a big issue. I'm sticking with Sinclair for now, so Genge, McGuigan, Sinclair at the moment. Let me know what yours would be. Now, second rows. I would absolutely stick with Itoje. I think he is England's best second row. He's an incredible talent. But as a head coach, I think what I'd do is say to him, look, what we don't need is the whooping and the hollering, the clapping in the face, celebrating other people's mistakes. Sure, encourage your own players, but I want you to get on the job. Don't celebrate opposition's mistakes and just get stuck in and use that talent, because I think he's a great player. And if a head coach said that to him, I'm sure he'd do it, and I think he'd be better for it. Now, his second row partner's tricky. Johnny Hill, does he have the international quality? I don't know. He's got the frame, but I'm not sure I'm seeing the performances. So I'm just putting him to one side for now. Maybe it's a return of Courtney Lawes into the second row as he gets a bit older. He's still one of England's best players for sure, whether he plays at 6 or in the second row. But I'd put him in the second row for the World Cup at least. And Dave Ribbons looks a great option as well. I'd probably have him as the third backup option. Now at blindside for England, I think it's time for a younger option, for a proper 6 option. My top pick would absolutely be Ted Hill. I'd give up of Bath now, formerly of Worcester. I'd give him a run of games for sure. Physically, he's absolutely got it. He's got good leadership. He's got good hands. He's got good speed. I can't see why not, but you don't know till you've tried. So I'd give him a good run. And maybe some others like Pearson or Kenningham of Harlequins, Pearson of London Irish. I think they could be given a good run as well as youngsters. But some proper 6s, some out-and-out 6s to back up Ted Hill. Lawes could slot in there if needs be for the World Cup. But afterwards, definitely those youngsters. Now, open side's a really, really strong position for England, and I've changed this player in and out all the time. You could go for Willis for his turnovers, Underhill for his tackling, Earl if you want to go all-out attack. I'd have all of those in the frame. But I think I would stick with Tom Curry. I think he's a class act. Having watched him over the autumn, he went through a mountain of work, very consistent, not flashy, but I think he's very important to England. But any of those guys could be great. Let me know what you would go for. And also, just watch out for Henry Pollock. I think he's only about 17, 18 at the moment, of Northampton. He could be absolutely stellar coming through the age grades in the next few years. Now, at number 8, it's an easy pick, and he's my captain, actually, of this team. It's Alex Dombrandt. I think he is the number 8 talent at the moment. He's a big guy. Maybe he doesn't quite hit as hard as some of the other number 8s, but he's got unbelievable skills. He hits great lines. Very, very clever. I think he could be a good captain as well. And also a bit of an outsider, but Zach Mercer is available for the Rugby World Cup, even though he's starting to play in England after the Rugby World Cup. He could be a good skillful option as well. And I think Sam Simmons is a great impact player across the back row. He could be very useful depending on the type of game. If it's a bit more open, he could be very destructive. Now, like I said, I've moved on Ben Youngs for his fantastic service, but I think it's a fight between Quirk, Mitchell and Van Poortvliet, depending what you want from the game. If it's a quick game, maybe Quirk's the one to go with. Give him lots of time and experience. He'll only get better. So I've got him in at the moment. At 10, I'd absolutely play Marcus Smith. I think he's got it. Some people say he hasn't got it international level, but if he's given the freedom to play the way that he plays best, I think he could be great. Sure, he might make a few errors, but he's going to try things. I think his kicking is good enough at goal, and he could be ably backed up by the likes of Atkinson. And you do have Ford and Farrell around if you want to go that way as well, because they've got good attributes as well, but I'd absolutely go for Marcus Smith. At 12, we've seen that Tuolangi's still a good player, but he's not the player he was. I think it is time to move on. What a great player Tuolangi was, but I think we need to go for some youngsters. I think Anianwu of Harlequins is the best option at the moment, although when Kelly comes back for Leicester, I think he could be a good option. And also watch out for young Tom Litchfield as well of Northampton, who could play 12 or 13 maybe. He's a talented big fellow. A couple more years and he could be world class, to be honest. But at the moment, with Smith and Anianwu on the same page playing for Harlequins, that could be good. At 13, again, I've mentioned Litchfield, but also I think Will Joseph is getting better and better and better. And you've still got Marchant, Slade, Northmore as well. So a lot of options. But for now, I think Will Joseph could be very, very exciting in there. Now, one thing I've been a bit disappointed with England recently is lack of balance in the back three, lack of speed in the back three. So I think it is important to have some size in there, definitely. On one wing, I think Hassel Collins or Lewis Liner, when he's back fit, could be useful. Thokanasiga could be useful as well, although I'm undecided on that one. On form, Hassel Collins would be the big winger I'd put in there. Also very, very quick. And then on the other wing, I think you need international speed. To be a top international team somewhere in your backline, you need top international speed, a player who believes they are the quickest player on the park. Adam Radwan absolutely fits that bill. Sure, he's a bit rough around the edges, but you've got to give him time. And at 15, I think if you're going all out attack, play Henry Arundel. Again, international speed, absolute world-class speed. Stewart's still a great option, to be honest, especially if you're expecting a high ball barrage, so absolutely not discounting him. And I think Tommy Freeman could be a good all-rounder. Murley's another really good quick winger. So that's the team I'd go with, the coach I'd go with, the style I'd go with. It's a really interesting topic. Let me know what you guys would do in the comments below, and I'll catch you next time.